Former Republican presidential candidate Carly Fiorina says that she'll support Joe Biden over Donald Trump in the general election. She is a very conservative Republican. Some have described her as a member of the so-called Tea Party movement, but she did share her thoughts on Donald Trump and why she doesn't support him on The Ticket, which is a podcast for The Atlantic. Take a listen.
Have you made up your mind about who you're going to vote for in November?
Well, I've been very clear that I can't support Donald Trump. And, elections are binary choices. I will say this, I hope that Biden understands that this moment in history calls for him to be a leader, not a politician.
But so you are voting for Joe Biden?
Well, it's not till November, is it? I'm not voting for Trump.
But if it's a binary choice.
It's a binary choice. So, if faced with a binary choice on a ballot, yes. But I'm making, I think, just as important a point, which is he will get a lot of pressure, as all politicians do, to be a politician.
Yeah. So what are you saying? Like, I would just go ahead. I listened to the whole podcast because I wanted her to spell it out. I think she is afraid to say it, but I think she's afraid that Biden will somehow cave to progressive demands. And remember, there is this like tug of war right now that I don't think enough people are talking about. There are the never Trump Republicans who are supporting Biden over Trump, and then there are progressives. Right? So the question is, who is Biden going to listen to more? I've already made my prediction on that. I think it's going to be the never Trump Republicans because they have the money and the resources to help Biden win. That's what we've been seeing with the Lincoln Project and the ads that they've been putting out to attack Trump. Remember, the Lincoln Project is not made up of progressives. It's made up of never Trump Republicans who want Trump out. And so they're putting out ads in order to help Biden win over Trump. So I just think based on those resources, Biden's likely to listen to their demands over the demands of progressives. But anyway, I just think it's interesting how she kept trying to, use this weird, thinly veiled language in order to tell Biden, whatever you do, don't listen to the progressives.
Yeah, and she had said that she was not going to vote for Trump before, or something along those lines. Not quite that much, but saying she was concerned about it, and she was just waiting to see who the Democratic nominee was. In other words, if it's Bernie Sanders and we can't buy him, I'm not interested. Then I'll vote for the Nazi monster. But if it isn't Bernie and we could influence the Democrat, then I'm in. And they've made a decision, they think they can influence Biden. And they're gonna say to him, hey, didn't we help you win the election? And look, with the Lincoln Project, it's kind of fair. And they know Biden has a history of working with Republicans and being really enthusiastic about working with the Republicans. So they're playing politics, and it's actually fairly smart politics. So I'm worried about that. On the other hand, the other guy is a racist, fascist, who doesn't believe in democracy. So it's not really a close case. And I agree with her, and I know some of you don't, but at the end of the day, come November, there will be only two people who have a chance of winning the election. And so it is a binary choice in that sense. And so I get that it partly, tiny bit depends on the state that you live in, but a lot of people thought there were safe states in 2016 and there weren't. Okay, but back to Fiorina. Okay, she says that other politicians are playing politics. Oh, come on. Okay. You ran for president, okay? So don't tell me that you're not playing politics. You're also playing politics. And so do we have the tweet of her from back in 2016 when she ran? Yes, so she's a Stanford grad, okay? And she went on to be a CEO and be a business person, etc. But she, of course, the first state voting is Iowa. So right before the Iowa caucuses, the Hawkeyes, University of Iowa, were playing Stanford, the school she went to. So she said this on Twitter.
Love my alma mater, but rooting for the Hawkeyes win today. Hashtag Rose Bowl. Gee, I wonder why. This was on January 1st, 2016.
Yeah, hashtag Panda Bear. So yeah, no, it's the most disgusting pander. Now Trump's made everything seem so mild by comparison. But back then, people were like, "Oh, worst tweet of 2016," and we're like a day in. Okay, and it's because she's a greasy politician. Then she agreed to be Ted Cruz's VP when it was down to Cruz and Trump and Kasich, and Cruz was trying to do this gimmick, which is a fine gimmick of naming a VP, and it was Carly Fiorina. And then Ted Cruz went on to phone bank for Donald Trump. So if you're disgusted with politicians playing politics, I think that would be the poster boy right there. And you know how in basketball it's called getting posterized when somebody dunks on you and they make a poster out of it? That's getting posterized in politics. And so that was gonna be your boss, Carly.
Oh, it's so good. By the way, she did make a statement that I thought was interesting in this podcast. So she said that Senators Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren were right. The structures of power have bent too far toward corporate control, but if conservatives really want to do anything about it, she said, they need to start by standing up for their principles. But their principles are about corporate control. Like, I think Republicans fight for their principles every single day. We see it on full display all the time. They love deregulation. By the way, we'll probably talk about this in more detail on a later show. But while everyone is distracted by this insane news cycle, guess what just happened? They just completely deregulated banks and repealed the Volcker rule, which will allow banks to take these risky bets and not have enough money set aside should things go awry. So this is part of the Dodd-Frank regulation that came after the Great Recession in 2008, and it's gone. It's gone. So it's incredible. That is what they stand for. That is what Republicans are all about. So they are standing up for their principles every single day. This is what we see. They're racist. They love corporate control. They don't care. They don't actually care about human lives. I really think Carly Fiorina needs to take a step back and really reevaluate her own political ideology and whether she's in the right party.
Yeah, she is. She's full of crap. Look, I don't put aside Trump, okay, for a second. Although you can't, because 90% of Republicans support him, so that's who they are. And almost 100% of Republican politicians support him, so that's who they are. But let's take Fiorina in this case, because she's saying I'm not going to support him. Okay, that's fair. So I'll take the racism part of it out of it. I assume she objects to that, right? But when she talks about corporate control, are you kidding me? So Fiorina, do you disagree with the rule now? So this is what they're doing is they're saying you're allowed to do derivative gambling again with customer money and without keeping enough reserves in. It is the riskiest gambling there is on the planet. They wind up gambling with trillions of dollars that isn't theirs, and that they don't actually have the money to back up. That's how we collapsed last time in 2008. So Fiorina, are you in favor of that or against that? I know, I don't even have to ask you. Of course you're in favor of repealing nuts and build more mansions and yachts until we collapse. And is any Republican against it? So okay, minus Trump, Mitch McConnell. The dude's middle name is corporate control. What does Mitch McConnell stand for if he doesn't stand for corporate control? Lower taxes for corporations, more deregulation, crush the workers. That's Mitch McConnell and the Republican Party 101. So please spare me this about you're against Republicans against corporate control. They're more for corporate control than they are racist. Right, it's not even close. Whereas racist as they are, they would much rather have their corporate overlords rule us all. They work for them. They're their water boys. So that this whole latest strain of like, oh, I'm a populist Republican. I don't love corporations 100%. I just like 98 or 99%. Get out of here. So she root for corporations over Stanford.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.